Hello, hi, and welcome to this Tubecast? Trademark. I'm Ash, and today we're bidding farewell to Alex Belfield, well, for the moment. Briefly, when I started this channel, it was never my intention to just bash Belfield. He happened to be saying some things about vaccine, about COVID death, that were in my sphere of interest. He went on and watching some of his videos, he annoyed me about mental health, so he popped up on the radar. Alex was never going to be the main focus of the channel. I think it's as well just to maybe close off for the moment on what he's done and where he's going. Just make comment on his YouTube ban. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. So the best way to get to the bottom of what is going on is probably to hear it from the horse's mouth. Unfortunately, that means Alex. Fortunately, somebody recorded the live show he was in just after his ban. And so we're going to listen to what Alex has to say from that live show.
We've effectively been cancelled. But you can't cancel a man that doesn't give a fuck.
What does effectively mean? What? Because you've not been cancelled. You've been suspended. You don't have to leave YouTube.
I don't say anything I don't mean. So when you're offended by anything I say, I always say, well, that's your problem.
So in the spirit of free speech, I tend to agree. Alex should be allowed to say what he wants to say, obviously without straying into hate speech. But yes, in the spirit of free speech, we want people to say what they think, and then we can challenge that thing, and we can either change our minds, change their minds, or change the views, beliefs, and minds of their viewers and listeners.
The first time I got banned was for reporting Chris Whitty. I quoted Chris Whitty and they said, you've misquoted, misinformation, you're off for 2 weeks.
Okay, so this is Alex's narrative, and he seems to want to deny the severity of the COVID pandemic. That featured in one of my first videos. It was one of the things I wasn't happy about, the things he said. And the reason I'm not happy about it was because there are data, there is good science behind what's going on, and following that science will help keep people safe, and ignoring that science will lead them to harm. Which of those positions is better?
And so that happened, and then 10 minutes later there came another note from YouTube. 3 strikes and you're out, by the way. And the second one said, we have pulled this video from Thursday for misogyny. On Thursday I did a video. On Thursday I did a video about a lady called Carol Vorderman, who has sold her £2.4 million mansion, and she's moved in a caravan. And all I said was, how's she going to get through the doors of the caravan with those big tits?
Yeah, okay, we can guess what you said, Alex. It may well have been that comment actually bordered on comedy. However, had you not spent the last 2 years tearing her apart in the most vile and ungentlemanly way, perhaps this wouldn't have happened. Alex's viewing figures have gone up to, I think he's had over 300 million views now across his channel. That makes him bigger than he was. He has 350,000-ish, 373,000 subscribers. Your head is coming above the parapet, so what you say is more likely to be picked up by YouTube itself and analysed. And they may well decide that you have crossed the line and you've broken the agreement that you had with them, as far as what your content would be and what you would say. Yeah, it's on you.
So another 90 days strike. So I'm banned for 2 weeks. But what this is the beginning of the end. But here's where I'm at. Everybody around me is losing their heads, upset and crying and whatever. Listen, I have got away, and I stand with pride, for 2 years getting away with more than anyone else in show business history. And I stand proud that for 2 years we got away with it. And if only now they're going to start thinking I'm misogynistic, sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic, and fucking cyberbullying, that we'll go somewhere else.
Oh, Alex has got away with it. So getting away with it naturally implies that you knew you were doing something that was wrong. You don't get away with doing good things, you get away with doing bad things. This kind of leads me to believe that this may well have been in Alex's plan all along. He's expected that he would get banned. He knows that he's broken the rules. After that, Alex produced a video from his home, which is interesting in that it gives us a tour around Alex's mansion. We're going to have a look at that now, because again that goes towards the things he's saying and why he's saying them and what he actually might be up to. So put on some sunglasses because my God, what is that man wearing?
Hello Chunky, it's the voice of reason. Come closer, Tarquin. We've been sort of cancelled, but we're not bitter because we were waiting for it to happen. It took 2 years longer than I realised. We're no longer welcome at YouTube because taking the piss these days is deemed cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying is cyberbullying. This is an interesting point. So taking the piss is taking the piss, and constantly for a year, 2 years, picking on an individual about the way she looks, and commenting in incredibly crude terms about them. Yeah, that's the definition of bullying, Alex. That's what probably happens in schools. It's that constant drip, drip, drip. And sooner or later, yes, that will come to someone's attention. Whether Carol reported you or whether somebody reported you on Carol's behalf, I don't know. You probably deserve it. It wasn't comedy. It was just nasty. So yeah, cyberbullying, cyber harassment tend to come in the same thing, and it's just harassing or bullying somebody over the interwebs. Well done.
Shushy.
Cyberbullying is
Carol Vordenaux. Come with me,
an interesting point.
That's where we do the office.
Taking the piss.
Do you want to see my focker? Follow me.
Constantly.
Show them the focker. Through there. Look at it.
2 years.
Marvellous.
Picking
Right,
on
I shall go
an
down
individual
the
about the way she looks.
We have a thing. Are you coming, Godster? Okay,
and,
come with me. We've been
commenting
thinking about
in
what's going on, and
incredibly
I'm not
crude
bitter at
terms
all,
about them.
as I lean on my giraffe.
Yeah,
We've
that's
had an
the
amazing
definition
time
of
over the 2
bullying,
years
Alex.
that
That's
we've been
what
doing the voice of
probably happens in
reason.
schools.
When you think of all the things
It's
I've said,
constant drip,
many of
drip,
them
drip.
deliberately
And
were
sooner or
not
later,
in
yes,
fashion.
that will come to someone. Yes, well, when it comes to fashion, there are things that were never in fashion, and that shirt and jacket combo is one of them. Seriously. So we're going to get a good look around Alex's house. He's going to take us through every room and show us the opulence, show us what he's been able to do with the money that he has made from YouTube, from his listeners, from his begging bowl. And when I say from his begging bowl, Alex put out some information to say, help me sue the BBC. He set up a GoFundMe account called GoFundMe Sue the BBC, and raised reportedly somewhere between £240,000 and £300,000 from it. Now bear in mind, he may well channel that money directly to a legal fund. He doesn't appear to be suing the BBC at all at the moment. There is some speculation that what he's doing with that money is putting it towards his defence case. He's said that he's putting money towards his defence with his solicitor Henry Branham. But that's not suing the BBC, that's defending yourself against the defamation case and the harassment cases, the stalking cases that you are currently facing. It's a little dishonest, Alex, if that's what you're doing. A little dishonest.
I knew that it was going to be a matter of time before they started noticing that I'm not a lefty woke-tard. They don't like that very much. We are grateful to YouTube. If it wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't be free. I wouldn't have already spent $300,000 on legal fees. And when I win and sue them all, money also I have from YouTube to sue every single one of the liars, I'll be able to buy this house with it. So there's not a lot to be sad about. So where do we go next, and what is all this about?
Well, I wonder where you're going to go next, Alex. And given that you were going to refund all of the money from your legal fund, I don't know. Alex is very confident that he's going to win his case that he's not bringing. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what he does about suing people. Interesting that he had a picture of Donald there, the suer-in-chief of the United States of America.
Do you like my new picture, Tarquin? Look at this. You see, money makes the world go round. And YouTube are very interesting, still profiting from my material that made them very rich. I know what I earned. And my God, they earned a lot more than I did.
So, Alex appears to have removed most of his videos from his YouTube channel. And he was quite prolific, so there's an awful lot of stuff that's disappeared. There's some holding videos in there at the moment. The begging videos for his GoFundMe account. Some of the best bits of Alex. Personally, I'd have thought that'd be a shorter video, but yeah, there's some holding videos, some kind of placemat videos in there, but all of his content has disappeared. Now, people have speculated as to has he removed that so that content can't be presented in court as part of the case against him for stalking or for defamation. I would imagine that all of that content will be stored somewhere by a smart lawyer. They won't just be relying on clicking on YouTube on the day of the court case to present something to the jury. So I would imagine that all of that content and the stuff that he said will be stored somewhere. I think it's more likely that Alex has taken his ball home. You heard him comment, YouTube are going to profit from my videos, and then the videos disappear. So YouTube can no longer profit from those videos, can they? Yeah, that would be my speculation on it. You may think something different.
That is very powerful. It's 500,000 people on YouTube. We're not banned, we're off for 2 weeks, and there's 2 strikes that last 90 days, 3 and you're out. So we always knew this was coming, and now we've got another plan.
It's interesting, we always knew this was coming, and you've heard him say that before. Alex knew he was going to get banned. So has he engineered this ban? Well, what he's done is built up a large fan base. He's spoken about the BBC licence fee quite extensively, saying that he shouldn't be paying the BBC licence fee. However, what Alex is doing now is disappearing behind a paywall, which means that if you want to view his content, you can view that content, but it is going to be behind a paywall. You're going to have to pay for it. And what Alex wants you to do is he wants you to pay £1 a week. So he wants you to pay £52 a year for the pleasure of watching Alex Belfield doing the Alex Belfield thing time after time after time. The comparison would be that you pay about 3 times that to the BBC for a ton more content, which is varied, and access to BBC iPlayer and all the rest of it. So do I think Alex should be paid for what he does? Yes, of course he should be paid for what he does. He's a content provider. If he wants to be paid for it, he's done the work to get the views and all the rest of it. I have no issue with Alex being paid for what he does. However, it stinks of hypocrisy that he's been out and begged to, help me fight these people so they can't silence me, so they can keep me on the air, blah, blah, blah. By the way, thanks for all the money, thanks for all the views, and now I want you to pay for it. It's hypocritical. So, just some final thoughts on this then while we have a walk around Alex's house. I'm going to mute his sound and you're going to have to listen to me instead. Should Alex be banned? Should he be suspended? I think there are better ways around this. My views on Alex Belfield. However, I'm an absolute advocate for free speech. I want Alex to be on YouTube. I want him to be saying the things he's saying. I want him in the spotlight. And why? Well, because the truth is not scared of the light. So when you shine a light on what Alex says, you can uncover the truth. You can look at his agenda and you can speak about it, and you can be persuasive and say, look, the things he is saying are wrong. We can prove they're wrong. We can offer alternative evidence. This isn't a thing that is going to help you. Once he's behind a paywall, that light's not shining on him anymore. It's his, as he calls it, his secret voice of reason club. Why would you have a voice if you're going to keep it secret? What are you frightened of? It does look like this has been Alex's plan all along. It does look like he's engineered that huge YouTube following, and then, hey, I'm going to go behind a paywall. And how much more money is that going to generate for him? Well, potentially, if all of his subscribers chose to follow him, that would be hugely lucrative, far more lucrative than YouTube. Certainly on the top end. Obviously, there'd be expenses, but he's very good at keeping his expenses down. He's generally filmed his stuff on his iPhone. He's done it from his home. Is there a reason for that to change? It may well be that he has to get some cameras to go on the platform that he's going to go on, but he's already employing people to edit and do sound and the rest of it. His sister, obviously, he claims his sister does the jingles for him. So yeah, he's got a slick-looking operation, despite what he's saying being fairly horrible. So no, I don't want Alex banned. I prefer not to have anybody banned. There's a fine line between hate speech and freedom of speech, and it's difficult to see when you start banning things who makes the decision as to where that hate speech is. And I would argue that we make the decision as to where hate speech is, and we can only do that through discussion and debate, and we can only have those discussions and debate if we can see what we're discussing and debating. Here's the other thing that's quite pertinent as well. Alex will tell you, don't trust the mainstream media, stick with me, I'm going to have... Alex's shows on YouTube have mostly been Alex reading out things from the mainstream media and being inflamed, and he reads out the stuff that ties into his narrative. He misrepresents. I have seen headlines that he's flashed up where he'll flash up the headline and make his comment on it. If you went and read the actual article, which is hard to find because he never credits it to an individual paper or an individual news source, but if you go and read it, you quite often find that headline is the bit that hooks you in to read the article, and that the article actually says something that is at odds with the headline. Or you can read the article and then go and research what it says, and you can find that the article itself is slanted and biased. The other thing about Alex popping off of YouTube at this point and deleting his videos but leaving some sort of little placeholders there is that he's always got a comeback clause. Alex isn't totally stupid. He may be ignorant of some things, but he's not totally stupid. So Alex can go away and run his paywall and see how he gets on with it and see if he can make an awful lot of money. And as we saw in the previous part, money makes the world go round. It's something that's really big for Alex, having money and being flash. But he will always, while he's got those little placeholders there, have the option to pop back onto YouTube at some point. The way the YouTube bans work is that if you get 3 strikes within 90 days, then that's it. You're permanently banned. You're gone. Alex can delete all of his videos, not put any content out on YouTube, and wait for that ban, wait for that suspension, that 90-day suspension to expire, and then he can come back. And my guess is that if the paywall thing doesn't work, he will come back. I would guess as well that he may well put up some videos to try and drive traffic into his paywall. It may well be, though, that some people have become disillusioned. What they used to get for free, they now have to pay for. It's a very different business model. And what they used to get for free, they may well have clicked on Alex Belfield within YouTube and then clicked away and watched something else and something else and something else, and then clicked back on an Alex Belfield video. That ease of use is not going to be there anymore. So it'll be very interesting to see whether he does pop up again, whether his 3,500 friends and family support him fully and for a sustainable amount of time. So that's about it from for Alex Belfield for a little while anyway. I have got an idea that I want to look at, which is looking at how people influence other people, and he will feature in it. He won't be the only thing in it, but we will feature him. What I'd like to do now is just have a little chat about this channel, about you guys that have watched it so far, and some of the comments that I've had. So I'm going to read through, or at least paraphrase some of the comments. Yeah, give me a minute. I'm going to grab some coffee, and her indoors is running the taps, which is being picked up by the microphone. So I'll get back to you in a sec. Through the magic of recording stuff, we are back. Without the headphones, because I'm now not going to listen to anything while I'm while I'm speaking. So, I really enjoyed this process. The entire thing, from finding something to talk about to then researching that, which I do at length, to putting together video clips, to recording, and then editing it, and then posting it. It's really enjoyable for me. Maybe I'm a sad muppet, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. Part of that process that I didn't expect is what happens next. You post it out there, and people watch it, and some people comment. And I'm quite surprised by how great it is to see people comment on things, positively and negatively. I don't mind criticism. I don't delete any comments. The only point at which I think I would delete comments is if I think somebody was deliberately being harmful to somebody else in a comment section. I don't mind a bit of strong discussion. And certainly you can say whatever you want about me. It's for me, it's water off a duck's back. I'll take on board things that you say. I will argue against it if I think you're wrong. But I don't mind. So some of the comments that I've had, I wanted to run through. I had somebody say, "Your channel will fail. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor. I think your channel will fail." He's wrong. It's already succeeded, because his view of success and mine are different. This is a hobby for me. It's a way to, I suppose, like a lot of people, I've read through comments on other pages on other sites, and you comment back, and you become a bit of a keyboard warrior, or you shout at the screen when people are saying things that you don't agree with. I suppose for me, this is a way of actually putting that out there and saying, hey, look, this guy said this, and I disagree with him, and this is why I disagree with him. and it just feels like it has a little more value for me than just putting stuff in the comments section. Especially, I mean, one thing I noticed with Alex Belfield, and somebody else has said it on this channel, is that you comment on it or you challenge him on something, he doesn't come back. He doesn't, because he probably doesn't read the comments. And comments on his channel have been quite scary. He proclaims not to be a racist. However, if you drop down into the comments section, you get some incredibly racist views on Alex's channel. So, the comments section has been something that's really, really interesting. So for me, what counts as success is that some people watched it, some people commented, and we had a discussion. I think that's valuable. Any kind of human interaction is pretty valuable. So that's one thing. What else have I had? I have been questioned a couple of times about my qualifications, specifically my qualifications to challenge people with PhDs or such. To be honest, when I made the video that featured Dr. John Campbell and the Black Belt Barrister and Alex, I did sit there for a long time and think, who am I to challenge at least two of these people who have degrees, etc. Well, here's the thing. For a long time I've been interested in critical thinking, in skepticism, in why people are persuaded into positions or persuaded that somebody says something. So logic, reason, all that kind of stuff has been something that's interested me for over 10 years, and something I've researched for over 10 years and worked on for over 10 years. No, I don't have a formal qualification in those things. But does that matter? Well, I think when you see something come up that appears to have a bias to it, or appears to have been presented wrongly, there is no reason that you can't challenge it. Challenge it respectfully, explain your reasons for challenging it, but yeah, you should challenge it. So ultimately I did feel that I could push back against what was said by, probably more pertinently by Dr. John Campbell, because I felt his presentation of it was incorrect, and possibly had a bias. He's welcome to come back and tell me that I'm wrong. I'd welcome a discussion. It's probably not going to happen. I believe he's put a video out where he says his view on people commenting on it is that they are trying to get more views for their channel off the back of him. That's fine. I'm more interested in the fact that he may be influential and may give some information that's incorrect, or is certainly presented incorrectly, or doesn't follow a logical path. And I will keep I don't have a problem with pushing back against somebody that's brighter than me. I'm not challenging his medical knowledge, I'm challenging his presentation. So that's interesting. There's also, within logic, you have logical fallacies. So a logical fallacy would be the argument from authority, which is basically, because a doctor said it, it must be true. Because a priest said it, it must be true. Because a lawyer said it, it must be true. Because a policeman said it. So people in authority are sometimes granted not having to back up their position by the people that are listening to them. So you go, oh, well, the doctor said it, it must be right. Doctors make mistakes. We could point at Dr. Andrew Wakefield, couldn't we? And look at the study that he did, which he managed to get published in The Lancet, and which has had, if you don't know, Andrew Wakefield's study basically contended that the MMR vaccine gave people autism. This has been thoroughly debunked. Absolutely. No proof whatsoever. His study was debunked. They looked at it and actually falsified information on it. totally debunked. It's not true. And yet, years and years later, this still rolls down the line because a doctor said it. He's no longer a doctor. He was struck off. But people still hold that there is something in what he has said. And he makes a really good living now. He does talks on cruise ships and all over the place in America to conspiracy theorists. He wanders around with Elle Macpherson on his arm. He's doing great out of it. He's got no problem. But the harm that he has caused, the spikes that have come up in measles, mumps, rubella, that's on him. And what's it done for him? It made him famous for 5 minutes and also has made him incredibly rich. So, yeah, you can push back against people who are better qualified than you, because that qualification is not what makes them right. Them being able to follow the evidence and the scientific evidence and the consensus in a scientific body is what makes them closer to being right. So that's on that. Interesting points of view. People criticising what I've said. I don't mind. I welcome it. It's as valuable as people enjoying what I've said. I suppose what I want to look to last is some of those comments, people that have commented on the mental illness part that I did. And I was really annoyed at Alex because what he said was harmful. The mental illness part, it's difficult, isn't it? It's interesting. A lot of comments have come back anti-doctor. And you'll notice I do read through the comments. I try and comment on everything that goes on. A lot of people have had very bad experiences with doctors. Now, let's be really open about this. I went to the doctors for the first time in probably 10 years on Friday. On the basis that I haven't been in 10 years, it has to be something that I'm seriously concerned about to go to a doctor. You've been open with me in the comments, so I'll be open with you. There were 3 issues that came up. One is arm and back pain that I've had. I've got a trapped nerve in my neck, so we'll probably treat that with some physio. The other was I have had some visual anomalies, disturbances, and those they happen across both eyes simultaneously. So I'm pretty sure that's not in my eyes, is it? That's in the processing centre for your vision. So you're talking about your brain. And that one came back quite well, because his explanation is most likely what you are getting is migraine without the headache. And that makes an awful lot of sense. And the third one was an issue that I've had with my throat, which felt like there was a lump in it. Not externally, internally. We've got a treatment plan for that. So over the next month I'll be taking some medication to see if that disappears. If that does disappear, that's great. If it doesn't, then it'll be further investigation, maybe an endoscopy, something like that. So there you go. I had a very comprehensive 30-minute meeting with their doctor. I felt totally confident about it after I left. I felt reassured that he was taking it seriously. He told me when we would talk again. So I've got a date for a telephone discussion with him to see what we do next, ostensibly about the throat. And that's great. Now, what can I do with that? And please don't start tippy-tapping yet. A lot of the feedback that we had on doctors is that doctors don't know what they do. They just reach for the prescription pad and they write a prescription. And I can now say that what you've said is not true, because that's not all doctors. Is that helpful? No. To come out and just say it's not true would be somewhat disingenuous, because a lot of you have a lived experience which is less than a good outcome for you. You felt marginalized or not listened to, or you feel like you were fobbed off, and that is your lived experience. My lived experience is that my doctors are really great, and that's what they've been like with the rest of my family who have visited the doctor. The experience has been good, but me saying that and using that to prove that you're wrong about all doctors does not help, because your lived experience has been different. And for that, I do feel sorry. I feel sorry for you, because you're dealing with, in the case I'm thinking about, somebody who's had a mental illness, depression. You're not thinking straight when you've got depression. You go to a doctor, and if you feel you are not being listened to, that's not great, is it? So I am listening to what you're saying, and if I disagree with you, I'm not marginalizing what you're saying. I'm just saying there are good doctors. There is good evidence. Some people have come on and just point blank, doctors overprescribe. Show me some evidence for that. I've looked. I had a comment that said you shouldn't go to a doctor for mental health. It should be a psychiatrist. Well, psychiatrists are doctors. And the evidence I looked up, actually psychiatrists have been likely to prescribe higher doses for longer times of antidepressants. So we need to take a breath and actually look at all the evidence in the round, is what I'm saying. And yeah, so some of the stories have been moving, quite open and honest. And that, for me, has been an eye-opener, because when I started, I'm looking at a phone and talking into it. It's me talking into a void. And all of a sudden, when comments come back, I'm no longer talking into a void. I'm talking to people. And okay, I'm a lefty snowflake. You feel a responsibility for some of the things that you say. Or I do. You know, I know we're not going to go along about Alex all the time, but it's clear to see that he doesn't. So that's what I wanted to say on that. I understand your lived experience. I understand that you have a different version of what has happened to what I have. And I understand that sometimes that makes you think that's what it's like for everyone. And it's not. But that is not to minimize the experience that you may have had. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Next videos won't necessarily be on Alex. They'll be on some different topics. They will be challenging views. If you want to watch them, by all means, come back. You're supposed to hit a subscribe button or something. I don't know. Oh, likes and dislikes. Yeah, this is something YouTube did. YouTube have stopped showing the dislikes on the thing, and I think that's a mistake. Why the hell wouldn't you? So in the spirit of honesty and openness, my dislikes are currently running slightly above 50-50 on the likes. They ran mostly 50-50 across the videos I've done, and last time I looked, I think I was edging up to 60% likes as opposed to dislikes. I don't mind that. I value the feedback. Put on what you want. But I just think it's a shame that YouTube no longer show that to everybody if you're watching a video. Yeah. So that's what I want to say. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. I'm going to keep doing this whether you watch and comment anyway, because it's cathartic for me. But hey, I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.